everybody, it's Jess and welcome back, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. Thank you so much for joining me today. I haven't done one of these videos in quite a while, but I am going to talk about the books that I read, or some of the books that I read in October. So the reason why I'm not going to talk about all of the books that I read in October is because I did do some vlogs on them and you can go and find them there. But there is one vlog that is missing, which was my Halloween vlog. October was a very eventful month and I just didn't have a lot of time to sit down and film and edit because we got a dog. So that vlog isn't around, unfortunately, but I will talk about that book in this wrap-up video. Yeah, I'm going to start with the worst rated books and end with the top rated books, as always, so we can end on a positive note. But first of all, I'm going to talk about this book here, which I didn't really give a rating to because I kind of read it just for practicality, but that is Crate Training, Quick and Easy. This is by T.O.T. Anderson. So obviously, as I said, we got a dog, a little puppy, and I've been reading up on how to train her, toilet train her, crate train her, all of that. And this was one of the books that I read. And yes, I'm going to include it in my yearly book goal because I read it from start to finish. So I don't really know what to say about this other than that it's just about crate training, how to get your dog used to the crate, how to deal with a whiny puppy in the crate and all of that stuff. It's been very helpful, but we're not doing very well with the crate training, are we, Luna? No. She is just chilling behind me right now. So I'm just gonna... Oh, a dog's barking outside, so you might hear her in a minute. Maybe not. But anyway, so there was that one. I didn't give a rating to that one. So let's start with a 1-star book, which is Bullet Train, and that is by Kotaro Isaka. So this was a book that I've been wanting to read for quite a while, and I do have one of his other books, which I pre-ordered a while ago and it came out this year, and that was called 3 Assassins. Having read Bullet Train, I'm not sure I'm gonna like 3 Assassins now, but yeah, this one was very disappointing because the premise of it sounded really interesting. You've got these 5 assassins who have all been given different tasks and they're all on the same train together. They all end up meeting, things start going awry, and they start realizing that maybe they're all there for the same reason. And I really liked the isolated setting of it being set, on the bullet train and these assassins who come to blows with each other. I thought it was going to be really tense, really exciting. But this was honestly one of the most boring books I've ever read. And I didn't quite finish it, but I had 4% of the book left to go. So I'm going to count it as that I finished it because I read pretty much all of it apart from the last few chapters, because at that point I just didn't care about how it was going to end. I was just so bored, and honestly I should have DNF'd this sooner. The characters, they were interesting, but the dialogue is what really let this book down. I hated the dialogue. It was just so bland, so menial, and I just didn't get anything from it. I just didn't enjoy it. It was very slow paced, not a lot happened for quite a long time. And then when stuff did happen, it was just over very quickly and there was just no tension. There was nothing exciting about it. There was nothing of any real substance to it. And I just found it very convoluted and longer than it needed to be. And yeah, I feel really let down by this because I was really excited for it. I've heard the movie isn't great either, so I'm probably going to not watch the movie because the book wasn't that great. I mean, if you like slow burn thrillers, or more, it's more of like a literary thriller, but if you like slow burn thrillers and if you like weird dialogue, this might be the book for you. But it just didn't sit right with me, unfortunately. Okay, so I didn't have any 2 stars, so we're gonna go straight on to my 3-star reads. So let's talk about this one, The Slenderman, sorry. So this one doesn't have an author attached to it. I've tried to find the author. Several names have come up, but it's not definite that they wrote it. So yeah, it's by anonymous. But I kind of like that because it kind of adds a bit more to the story, you know. This one was one that I was going to read for a vlog, which has not surfaced. But this is all about a girl who goes missing. She's called Lauren, and she goes missing one night, and her friend, I can't remember what his name is, bloody hell. His friend, her friend Matt Barker, sets it upon himself to try and investigate what happened to her, and he's experiencing some weird things, and it's all about the urban myth of the Slender Man, which first popped up on Reddit, I think, all those years ago. It was a big like social media phenomenon, and so it kind of plays on that. It's inspired by that, and it is creepy. And there is some tension, but it just wasn't as intense and as scary as I would have liked it to have been. I think this book could have done a lot more with the Slender Man myth. But what I do like about this book is that it is written in an epistolatory, I think that's the word, format. So it's written in things like text messages, emails, social media posts, transcripts of interviews, diary entries, all of those kind of things. It kind of reminds me of like Dracula, and it's written like that. And I think that is a really fun way to write a book like this, because you're seeing the story from different points of views, different accounts of what's going on. It kind of makes you think about what is actually real and what's not. This book is very speculative, and it does leave you kind of questioning whether what is actually going on is actually happening or not. And I like that aspect to it. But I just didn't love it as much as I thought I would. I think this book could have been longer. I think there could have been a lot more depth into the story and a lot more things explained. There were some things that were just kind of left unexplained. But again, it is kind of speculative, so maybe that's the whole point and I'm just fussy. But yeah, I still enjoyed it. I would still recommend it. It was still worth the read, a good 3 stars. So, alright, so that was my only 3-star read. Let's talk about a 4-star read, and this is A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. Sorry. So I read this for the Spooktober readathon, and I really enjoyed this one. I'd heard a lot of really good things about this book, so I was very excited going into it. This is kind of like a copycat killer story. We're following a woman who, oh, hello, baby. Oh, look where she's just come to sit. Oh, darling. Oh, that's so cute. She's been a bit poorly lately, so she just wants a lot of cuddles, and she doesn't want to be apart from us, which is really nice, but at the same time, we're trying not to get her too attached. Anyway, as I was saying, A Flicker in the Dark. This follows a young woman called Chloe. She is a psychologist, and when she was younger, her father was sent to prison for the murder of several girls who had gone missing. He'd confessed, and so she'd lived most of her life assuming that he was the killer. And then as she's older, some more girls start going missing and are dying. What are you doing, Luna? I don't know what she's doing. Yeah, so now that she's older, these girls start going missing and their bodies are being found. And what piques Chloe's interest the most is that their items of jewellery have been taken, which is something that the girls that her father killed had happened to them. He took their jewellery. So she is starting to think, is this a copycat killer or is this somebody else doing this? It brings up a lot of past memories for her, things that aren't very nice, but she's also trying to figure out what's going on because she still has a lot of questions that need to be answered. And I really like this. There were quite a few pleasant surprises, some really good twists and turns, and I was left questioning everything throughout the entire book. It was very tense, very dark and very gritty as well, very fast-paced, and a really satisfying ending. And overall, I just really enjoyed this one. I can totally understand why loads of people love it so much because I had so much fun with it. And I love the writing. I think Stacey Willingham has such a great way with words and a way to capture the reader. The only reason why it's not a complete 5 stars for me is because it did take me a while to get into it at the start. It was a bit slow going to start with, but once the story got going, once the plot was there, you know, I was hooked and I just couldn't put it down. All right, so let's talk about the last book for the wrap up, and it is my 5-star book, my favourite book of October. Probably a controversial favourite book. If you've read it, you'll understand why. But it is American Psycho. This is by Bret Easton Ellis. And this is a book that I've been wanting to read for years. Ever since I was a teenager, I've been wanting to read it. It's always really intrigued me. But I'm glad that I didn't read it when I was a teenager because this book is very graphic, very traumatizing, just not very nice in general, and I don't recommend reading it if you are somebody of a very sensitive disposition. This book has a lot of trigger warnings, so please make sure you go and check them out before you delve into it, because I knew what I was getting into with this book. I'd read a lot of things about it, about how graphic it is, about how misogynistic it comes across, about the violence in it. So I was kind of aware of that and I was kind of prepared for it, but it was still a shock and it was very heavy and I needed to detox after reading it. But the fact that it did shock me so much, and the fact that it did make me angry and make me feel disgusted and a lot of very intense emotions, is the reason why I gave it 5 stars. This book is about a young man called Patrick Bateman who works for a firm on Wall Street, and he is very materialistic, he is very narcissistic, and he also happens to be a serial killer. And what I like about this book is that it is not explicitly mentioned straight away that he is a serial killer. There are slight hints that are woven into the book as it goes on, and then as the plot progresses, you start to see more of the serial killer side and more of what Patrick is actually like. And what I also like about this is that it is a bit speculative, because at times you are questioning whether what is actually happening in the book is actually happening or not. All the things that Patrick is doing or says he's doing, is he actually doing them, or is it all in his head? I kind of like that aspect to it because stuff is very graphic, it is very grim, and you kind of question whether he's actually committing those crimes or whether it's all just a big fantasy. Just going off like some of the things that he says to his friends or some of the things that he thinks. I did often wonder whether those things that he's doing are actually things that he's doing or whether it's all just, you know, some weird fantasy in his head. But yeah, I can see why this book was banned in several countries when it came out. I know it's still banned in a few countries. I know in places like Australia, you have to be 18 to buy it and it's like shrink wrapped, which is crazy. But I can understand why. But I also think it has a lot of really good opening points for discussions about violence against women, about powerful men, about racism, about how money corrupts people and things like that. It's one of those books that I didn't enjoy reading, but I was still very captivated by it. And it was one of those books that I couldn't put it down, no matter how graphic and how disturbing it got. I still wanted to keep reading it, and I don't know what that says about me. But yeah, I don't want to say I recommend this book because, as I said, it's not going to be for everybody, and you really need to be prepared for the content of it. So make sure you check out the trigger warnings and read a little bit about it first. But yeah, it was 5 stars because of all the emotions that it made me feel. Anyway guys, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching. Please feel free to let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of the books that I've talked about in today's video and what you thought of them, because I always love to hear what you guys have to say. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to leave a cheeky thumbs up to let me know that you liked it. You can also subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button so you will be notified every single time I do upload. I need to go because Luna's getting restless. I think she's hungry. So having said all of that, I will see all of you lovely people in my next video very soon. Bye guys.